We're ready.
Go ahead, Peter.
Hi, is there anyone here?
Yes.
There
There
are
are four.
four people watching you,
Oh,
hanging on your every
okay.
word.
Hi, good afternoon or early evening. Welcome. My name is Peter Gazousis, and I'm a professor in the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy. Although I can't see you in this particular view of Zoom because this is set up as a webinar, please feel free. I hope you can step in and ask questions at any point in time. Don't hesitate to interrupt. If you know how to use Zoom, there is a place where you can give me a signal with a thumbs up or raising your hand. And that will tell me that, oh, there you go. Kathy Davis just raised her hand. Terrific. In fact, I'm now opening this, but I don't see all the attendees. I see. Hi. So I see Kathy Davies, Eric Bluen, Nisha Minucci, and Avan, I can't tell what the name is. It's another guest. Could Avanalst? Is that a last name, or you can unmute if you'd like to say something. Okay, well, it's up to you. So I'd like to just start by saying that I am right now in the midst of working with 18 teachers who are completing this cohort this semester. And we're in the midst of writing our major projects, major papers. Everyone's really excited about the projects that they've set up. We started planning for this last January. The course we took from January through March, which was face-to-face, was a course that traced the history of teacher inquiry through narrative inquiry, through autoethnography, and into contemporary perspectives on teacher research. So this gave everyone a very, very solid grounding on how they could approach a project that they were interested in that applied specifically to their own particular backgrounds. In the current cohort, I've got 4 administrators, people who are new administrators. They actually were promoted into administrative positions during the master's cohort program. So, and in fact, over the last 5 cohorts, over 50 teachers have become curriculum leaders or administrators of some sort, whether it be curriculum administrators or whether it be vice principals or principals in their respective school districts across the Lower Mainland. This program is designed to respond to the interests and concerns of teachers who wish to become curriculum leaders in their school districts. The cohort focus is on creativity, and creativity encourages and supports teachers who wish to investigate their practices through designing powerful, creative learning environments for their learners, where we focus on notions of artful, creative instructional design and pedagogical choice making that enables us to challenge, learn, inquire, explore, and renew understandings of how our engagement with students, our learners, and the curriculum plays a crucial role in education. We focus on the process of becoming not just reflective practitioners, but reflexive practitioners through the study and applied practice of creativity and progressive arts-based approaches to research in the classroom. This process leads us to think of the teacher as the designer of powerful creative learning environments. The master's program, as it stands, and as it has been since its inception in 2005, has been completely learner-centered and amplifies the ideals and concepts of the new BC curriculum. Graduate students learn about issues of pedagogy, curriculum planning, curriculum development and implementation, assessment, and I should say contemporary assessment and evaluation, digital learning, and arts-based research that curriculum studies encompass. Now, we're not limited to investigations of how learning is constructed. Inquiry in curriculum studies is multidisciplinary and explores a variety of contemporary perspectives. Now, I've been blessed over the past 15 years to have worked with some of the greatest thinkers, not just in British Columbia or Canada, but internationally renowned. We're very fortunate in our Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy at UBC to have some of the most widely published, most widely read scholars in curriculum theory and curriculum studies and specific curriculum areas. I think a lot of teachers aren't aware of, especially even those who go through the teacher education program at UBC, aren't aware of how much impact UBC, our faculty, and particularly curriculum and pedagogy, has had over the past 20 to 30 years on shaping ideas around the world. Right now, I'm going through a number of applications for the PhD program, over 70 applications. And the applications are from all over the world. And these people want to study with various people across our department. It's very exciting to be engaged in this kind of process. But for this upcoming cohort, it's basically going to be a reiteration of the last cohort, the people that I've been working with the past 2 years with the current group. I have a fantastic teacher, professor, who does wonderful work in creativity and instructional technology, designing incredible learning environments, using technology-enhanced techniques and ideas, pedagogy, curriculum. Her name is Andrea Sator. She works part-time for Simon Fraser University and is also working for us at UBC in various capacities. So Andrea will be teaching one of the instructional creativity courses. I also am blessed to have Dr. Berard, Marie-France Berard, who is in our art education area, but has a broad array of expertise, particularly in museum education, in working with learners and teachers in museum settings, as well as in other artistic settings. So she teaches one of the teacher inquiry courses in action research. I'll also have Dr. David Beer, who works closely with Professor George Beliveau in drama education. George Beliveau is currently the head of language and literacy education at UBC. Pardon me. Must be the wind blowing up sand particles. Just joking. Anyway, Dr. David Beer, who teaches drama and theater at Handsworth Secondary, but also teaches for us part-time. So he has a 50-50 teaching schedule, working at UBC and working at Handsworth Secondary in North Vancouver. I teach 2 of the courses currently. One of the courses in general research methods, which has a particular focus in creative approaches to doing research in the classroom based on very contemporary ideas. I've written extensively about these. If you look up my surname, you'll see through various sources the kind of work I'm doing. Right now, I'm heavily engaged in working with one of my doctoral candidates who's defending his dissertation in a couple of months. His name is Matthew Yanko. He's a teacher in the Burnaby School District. And we're doing amazing work with new forms of assessment. Some of you may be familiar with learning stories, which were developed in New Zealand back in the early 2000s. And we've taken this in completely new, fascinating directions that are being widely proclaimed by a number of academics and a number of teacher education programs. And we use them now in our current teacher education program in some areas. I'm also working with people who, we have 2 electives during the summer, and the electives are typically taken on campus. So in those electives, you have your choice of a wide palette of courses. So you can take, with my advising, you can take anything in our department in, for example, mathematics education or art education, social studies education, or language education, or educational psychology and counseling psychology. So, and educational studies. Some of you might be interested in taking an administrative course or two. And you're allowed to take up to 2 400 level courses toward your MEd degree. And I encourage you to do that. And even for that matter, some people decide to take more than the 2 electives, not just during the summer, but also during the regular semester. Because UBC has a very interesting system where you pay, and I think this is still the case, although Yvette Karube will explain the tuition schedule, but we've been able to take people when you're on campus, you're not only paying per semester for the courses you take, but you can take as many courses as you'd like per semester, which has been helpful for some people, particularly over the years when people have come into a master's program where they did a 4-year degree in education and their area of interest in Ontario. And so they wanted to top up not only their masters to get their pay bump, but also bump up to get their PB plus 15. So this offers the opportunity to do that as well. And some people have taken advantage of that by taking overload courses over the years. We also have a course in narrative research, which, as I mentioned, was taught through a lens of teacher inquiry this past year. There's another instructional creativity course that has a focus on, on technology applications in the classroom, particularly looking at new ideas in the maker movement. And that's very exciting and has had a lot of really fascinating applications in the classrooms of the teachers who have participated in this cohort over the last, at least the last 2 cohorts that I've led. We've had this focus in instructional creativity. And so that's an exciting course as well. I'm trying to think, I'm looking at the menu right now. And also we have another core course in the department, which is an introduction to curriculum issues and theories, which technically I am listed as the instructor, but over the last 4 cohorts, I've saved it as the last course because this is where I take the risk, we all take the chances to turn the course and the notion of teaching inside out so that the people who are the quote unquote students, you, the grad students, actually lead and teach the course. And it was really fascinating this past time because it was all online. That was last semester. It was all online. We cut everything so that a pair of people had up to 70 minutes to do not only a presentation around the readings and materials that were particular to that, the topic of the week, but also to develop activities that people did in breakout rooms and all sorts of creative ways that we use the tools that many of you have been exposed to over the last 9 months in online teaching, but how can I put it? Supercharged, so that we use a lot of the creative tactics and strategies and graphics organizers and other ideas that we encountered over the last 2 years, and all of it came together in this course last semester. It was very exciting for everyone. It made the time just fly by on a weekly basis. We meet on Saturdays, by the way. So, and there are a number of reasons for that. One reason being that your schedules are so busy during the week, and usually, typically at the end of the day, by 4:30 in the evening, people are tired. People don't really, if you have a family, you've got other obligations, people would rather spend that time unwinding, doing additional schoolwork and lesson planning that they need to do for the coming week and other things. So we meet on Saturday mornings. We typically the classes are can be 6.5 hour sessions over the course of a semester that are adjusted so that we don't interfere with long weekends, and we don't interfere with those weekends where there are professional development, like the one in the fall. Well, we didn't have it this past year, but typically we'll have that province-wide Pro D Day in the fall, and so we don't have a class that weekend. We don't have it on Thanksgiving weekend, and other similar weekends that we try to avoid. So things are spaced out very reasonably. And I usually, well, what I do is I work with individuals in the cohort, depending on the school districts they come from, to say, okay, what's the ideal schedule for us this semester? And I encourage all the instructors to do the same and help out whenever I need to step in and help out, so that we're able to come up with a schedule that meets everybody's needs and accommodates everyone's schedules. And we wind up having a very successful, very nicely paced learning experience across a 3.5 month span of time. So that's basically what things are in a nutshell. I'm not sure if there are any of the teacher endorsements that that have been offered over the years, but I can say that first of all, everyone who's entered into this graduate program has completed successfully. And as I mentioned earlier, over 50% of the people who have completed this master's cohort have gone into leadership positions in their respective school districts. Some have even moved from a school district that they were in initially and then moved to another one. So I've had 2 teachers in particular who were in Squamish, who are now teaching and are administrators. One is a VP and one is a principal in the Richmond School District. So there are a lot of exciting opportunities that open up through this kind of experience. And I'm going to throw the floor open to any of you who have any questions. So please, questions about course content, about the kinds of activities and ideas that we develop and get into? Anyone? Kathy, you still have your hand raised. I don't know if you want to say something. I'm going to allow everyone to talk. So I'm turning your microphones. You need to turn your microphone on, but everyone is allowed to talk now. Eric, are you clearing your voice?
Hi, George. Yeah, I was just wondering, this is a 3-year program, correct?
It's actually 2.5. It depends on when it starts. So hopefully, if we start in the fall, it'll be a 2.5 year program. Yeah.
And you said 3 months. So is it like 3.5 months per year, essentially?
No, so we follow the regular semester format. So
Okay,
in the
great.
fall, it goes September. Typically, because we have flexibility with the schedule, the fall schedule, we start around the third week in September, third weekend in September, and we wind up ending by the end of November. So that gives you plenty of time for all the things that need to be done for reporting period in December, as well as preparations for Christmas and other such things. In the winter term that starts in January, we typically start either the first weekend after New Year's or the second weekend, and we'll finish up by March. And then we'll get through the holiday period there. And we also take spring break into account in our schedule building. And we also take the Easter holiday into account during our schedule building. But typically we have a course in what is the spring semester. On campus, it runs May, June. But for us, because we're off campus, what we've been able to do is we start it in the middle of April and we end by the end of May. So again, there's plenty of time so that you've got the comfort there of being able to focus on your reporting that you need to do and everything else that comes at the end of the school year in June. And then summer courses start in July, and that's when electives can be taken. And as I said, I heartily encourage people to take on-campus electives because that's where you get a chance to focus on a particular area of interest, a curriculum area of interest, or expand some ideas, exposure that you might have had in a particular topic. So over the years, when I've had someone, for example, like Alex DeCosson, or now Marie-France Berard, whose area is in museum education and art, a lot of people wind up not only enjoying the course that she teaches in action research, but because they like it so much, they wind up taking a course in textiles, or a course in textile design and textile making, or a course in ceramics, or any number of such courses on campus that the instructor, like a person like Marie-France, might be teaching during the summer.
Great, thanks. Yeah, that answers my next question as well, with the in-class option for the electives.
Yeah, and so we'll probably, Eric, is it Eric or is it another name?
Yeah, it's Eric, thanks.
Eric, okay. So typically, Eric, we will be face-to-face, hopefully after vaccines and the government gives us the all clear. If we start in September, we'll be starting face-to-face. And typically, I've offered this on the North Shore in a school on a Saturday. So for example, with this current cohort, we started at Lynn Valley Elementary School, but then we moved to Windsor Secondary because one of the teachers had a bigger space in Windsor Secondary. And then because we needed an even bigger space, we moved to Argyle Secondary last year. But yet in the fall, because everything went well, I didn't teach the course in May, June, but that was the creative technologies course. That was all online. So
Yeah.
It made sense to not only learn about creative technology applications, but actually apply them in the particular context that we were all struggling with in getting our acts together in teaching and learning in online settings. So Andrea Sator, Dr. Sator, as I mentioned, did a brilliant job. And if I showed you the course evaluations, you would all be very, very, very impressed by the comments that the teachers offered about what she did. But then in the fall, as I mentioned, we were all on Zoom and everyone had a chance to teach for about a 70-minute segment. And then we used all of these creative tactics and strategies for assessment that we've been not only applying in our classrooms, but also now applying with each other in assessing and evaluating the learning and the experience that we had in the course in the fall. So as I said, everything's very practical, everything's very hands-on, and everything's very, I say student-centered, but you're all teachers, so I'll say teacher-student centered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the in-person classes, do they all take place on UBC Vancouver's campus?
No. They all take place off campus on Saturdays. The only ones that take place on campus are the summer courses.
Right.
In July.
So I live and teach on Northern Vancouver Island.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. So that might be an issue.
Yes, it might be. Although, as I mentioned, I have had people from Squamish, and I currently have 2 people from the Chilliwack area who teach down in that neck of the woods. It's certainly not as convenient as living on the northern part of Vancouver Island.
No.
Are you the person who happens to know one of the current students in the Comox area?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, so you're further north. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like north, Port Hardy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I try to go to East Thurlow Island every summer. I have a friend who is part of a a collective who own half of the island, and it's
Wow.
it's quite exciting to drive up there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to live. So,
So
I do know people. I do have a master's student, and we have had master's students on campus who live on the Sunshine Coast, who usually make some sort of an arrangement to stay with a friend overnight. And then they do their work in the class during the day, and then they take the ferry back up. So it might be that if you were to choose to do something like this, that you were to make some arrangements with someone to come down on a Friday afternoon, evening, spend the evening, take class in the morning. We finish up, we usually start at about 8:30, 9 o'clock and finish up by 4 p.m. And then you could hop on a ferry and get back. And I could pretty much guarantee that for all but one of the courses that takes place on Saturdays, that we have 6 sessions. So it would involve 6 Saturdays.
Okay.
The only one where I feel that it's important to stretch it out a little bit more because of the density of the material is the course that focuses on research methods. It can be a bit of a heavy course. It's a required course in our department. I teach it and make it as applicable to classroom teaching practice and teacher inquiry as possible, but it still needs, typically I try and spread it out. So a couple of the sessions are 4-hour sessions, and then the rest of them are 6.5-hour sessions. And that way, we're just able to do the assignments and work together a lot more fluidly and easily, because it can be, it's heavy stuff.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Eric. Anyone else with a question? Nisia, Kathy, Avanalst? Just jump in. You just turn on your microphone. So if you go to the lower left-hand corner there, just turn it on, or I can even do it here. No, I can't. I can ask you to unmute. I can ask you to unmute, and I can ask you to unmute if you'd like to ask a question. No more questions? Wow. Well, I can guarantee you that you won't be able to hold yourselves back when you're in a group of 18 to 24 teachers, where everyone wants to get a chance to say something and engage with each other and engage with the instructors and have a lot of fun talking and learning with each other. How many of you are familiar, if you know where the thumbs up thing is, how many of you might be familiar with the work of Barry Bennett that he did a book called Beyond Monet a number of years ago, back in the early 2000s. It's all about creative tactics, strategies, and graphics organizers for use across the K through 12 curriculum. Anybody? I highly recommend you look for the book. I know it's certainly available through UBC's library. I don't know if it's an online resource, but I do have a teacher-created online resource that I share with teachers who are in the cohort. So that's one way that we get started right away, not only for me or any of the other instructors to use in guiding your learning in the sessions where we're face-to-face instruction, but also for you then to immediately start applying in your classroom practices. So I highly recommend that textbook as one starting point as a lens into creativity. I've written a number of papers on the topic also and how it works. And there's also a book out there, and you can download the book for free via UBC's library. And I believe there's at least the first few chapters of the book called Pedagogy in a New Tonality, Creative Tactics, Strategies, and Graphics Organizers, Visual Journaling for classroom K through 12 teachers. It was written by 24 out of the first 50 teachers that I worked with in the first 5 years of this cohort model. And it'll give you some insights into the kind of learning and kinds of ideas that people gain from working in this context. So since no one else has questions,
There's a
And-
question from Nicia.
oh, Nisia, please.
How many master's students typically apply for the program and how many are accepted?
Well, I do my best. So typically we'll have anywhere from 18 plus applicants. We need 18 people to run the cohort. So, or actually, I think the number is 16. I prefer to have 18 plus because that gives us some flexibilities with a number of things that we can do when we're working face to face. But as far as applications go, I can say that if your grade point average, undergrad grade point average was B plus, I think 78 or better, then there'll be no problem just putting your application through immediately. The application process is that they first they come into the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy. I, another colleague, and then the advisor for graduate admission. The graduate advisor in Curriculum and Pedagogy. We all look at the applications, and then we provide our input. And as I said, typically, if the grades are in place and your recommendations are in place, then everything goes through very smoothly. Typically, however, sometimes I'll have people who don't have that B plus or better undergrad GPA. And in that case, depending on the number of applicants, I'm able to write a special case for a number of individuals. And I've been very successful in writing special cases to help those people get into the program. I do all I can to help people get into the master's program on my end, and I do all I can to help people complete. So sadly, I've had people who have had all sorts of illnesses over the past 15 plus years in over 5 cohorts, as well as a number of people who have given birth to children or have just had a baby at the beginning of a program, so they needed to bring the baby to class and have other support systems in place while they were in class. And I've done everything possible to make sure that individuals complete the program, even to the point of working, outside of class and creating special assignments so that they could complete coursework. I think, so that's the gist of it. Thank you.
Shall I?
I see the chat now. Let me open up the chat. Sorry, I was looking at Q&A and whoops. Are there any other? Let me move the participants thing. How many master students? Right, fine. Thank you. No other questions? You can post one on chat if you'd like, or you can actually speak up. Either way. I'm assuming then that aside from Eric, that everyone else would be in the Lower Mainland somewhere. Yes, no, maybe so. Anyway, Fernie, okay. West Van, okay. So we have had the cohort has actually met, not this one, but the prior cohort met. We started at Ross Road Elementary School in North Vancouver, and it was too cold. So because it was so cold, another teacher who happened to be in charge of the lead teacher in the primary program at Collingwood Elementary offered her space, and we wound up then for curriculum leadership cohort version 4 met mostly at Collingwood Elementary School up above the Salmon House in West Vancouver. So whether we meet in West Van or North Van, anywhere on the North Shore, I'm open and willing. So I see there, some of you are really spread out all over the place here. Fernie, Prince George. Okay. All right. Well, I think without further ado, if there aren't any questions in particular, then I'd like to turn it over to Yvette. And my email address, you can find me very easily by looking me up, Peter Gazousis, UBC. If you just do a Google search, you'll see my email address. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to send me a question. And I'll be glad to answer it via email, or if you'd like to Zoom meet again, or if you'd like to chat by telephone. I have free North American calling, actually, cross Canada and cross USA calling. So, don't hesitate to contact me, and I'd be glad to answer any additional details or questions. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Yvette, take it away.
Hi. Okay. I also have your contact information on a couple of slides, Peter, so they can see it.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvette, and I am the Senior Program Assistant for this program. So I will be covering the admissions and application process with you. And if you have any questions at the end, please just let me know in the chat or Q&A. As well, just to let you know, this is a part-time program, and as Peter was saying, face-to-face. And I will be looking at your applications and processing them, and then keeping you posted as to what's needed or if there's something missing. So I'll also be covering the tuition and the fees of this program. So again, our cohort advisor is Peter, and his email is right over here. And if you have any questions regarding anything administrative, feel free to contact me. I provide the student support for this program, do the course registration. I can answer some questions on fees. And Alan J is another person who is involved in this process, who is the graduate program assistant in the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy. So you will get to know him once you are in the program. So what we're looking for is a 4-year undergraduate degree with a B+, which is 76% at UBC in all of your senior level courses, which is 300 level and above. Or if you are in that B range and you have a 4-year undergraduate degree with a BEd, then you would be considered as meeting the GPA requirement for the program. But if you do not meet that GPA requirement, as Peter said, he could write a special case rationale on your behalf, recommending you to the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. We ask you to order 2 official sealed transcripts from all of the post-secondary institutions you have attended, with the exception of UBC, because I have access to your records. And we ask you to upload them to your application in a single file, the front and back pages of your transcript. The back page of the transcript has the grading key that I need to calculate your GPA, so it's really important that you include that. And if you were part of an exchange program, we also need transcripts from that institution. We're also looking for a resume that includes your education, employment history, volunteer work, committee work, workshops, and any other related experience. We're also looking for a 600-word personal statement about your perspectives of leadership. indicating how you think this program, along with your current education and experience, can help you enhance your understanding of effective leadership. Peter, would you like to say anything about the statement of intent and resume? I'll just wait till the end and ask him again. We're also looking for a minimum of 3 years full-time teaching experience or an equivalent combination of engagement within schools, communities, non-governmental organizations, and other education-oriented environments. We also are looking for 3 references, 1 academic and 2 professional references. Your professional references should be from people who have supervised you. And I know that we typically get a lot of questions regarding these academic and 2 professional references. The reason why we ask for an academic reference is because it provides us an idea with your academic ability, your ability to do graduate work. So it's really important to get at least one academic reference. And your references should be submitted electronically. So before you submit your application, we will ask you, or the instructions on the applications will ask you to submit emails for your referees. And then once you submit it, an e-reference goes out to the referees and they can use the form provided, or they can upload their own letter. And there's instructions provided to them. Now, if your referees choose to mail in the reference, then the letters must be sealed and their signature must appear on the flap of the envelope for them to be valid. Now, at this time, we say we do not accept references by phone. That's a given. But sometimes we have been accepting them by email, provided that your referees also mail the hard copy to us. So if you have any further questions about that, I can answer them at the end. Applicants from a university outside of Canada in which English is not a primary language of instruction must provide results of an English language proficiency examination as part of their application. So tests must have been taken within the last 24 months at the time of submission of your application. Please contact me if this applies to you. Now to apply, we go to grad.ubc.ca/apply/online. And when you do your program search, you would look for NVC6, or you can enter MEd in Curriculum Studies professional cohort, and it would be September start. Now, if you've been at UBC previously, then we ask that you use that UBC ID. And if you can't find it, you can contact me and provide your date of birth so that I can check it in the system. And we ask that you provide or upload all of your supporting documents to your application, the resume, statement of intent, and the transcripts. So the application is open. The deadline is March 1st. And for domestic, the application fee is $108. And if you're an international applicant, it's $168.25 Canadian. So for the tuition fees, currently the domestic tuition fee installments, so that's what you would be paying per term right now, is $19.30 and change plus student fees. So then currently the tuition cost is $15,443 and change plus student fees. And if you're an international applicant, then the tuition fee installment is currently a little over $2,000 plus Canadian plus student fees. And then the tuition cost right now for international is a little over 16,000 Canadian plus student fees. So we're looking at 8 installments, which covers 8 terms, 2.5 years. The student fees vary from term to term. So for September to December, the fee was approximately $750. But then people who live away, which wouldn't apply to this program necessarily, could opt out of the UPass fee. However, there is one student fee that you can opt out of, and that is the health and dental fee, which I'm going to get to. So you're looking at 3 payments per year, September to December, January to April, and then May through to August. Summer term is considered 1 term. Now, typically UBC does raise fees once a year, and that's approved by the UBC Board of Governors. As well, tuition is charged as a whole program fee, not a per credit fee. So this is where if you want to take more than 2 electives for your program, you can, and the tuition fee would be of that elective would be covered under your program fee. So student fees are charged in addition to the term, and like I said, approximately $750 from September to December, but it's less as it's less in the following terms, like winter term 2 and then in the summer. One fee that you could opt out of is the medical dental plan, and that's currently at $264 and change. So there's permanent opt-out, there's temporary opt-out, and it's something that you would opt out of in September. The Compass card, which is also known as the UPass, applies to those that live in the greater Vancouver area, and it allows you travel in 3 zones on public transit. And the cost is $170 per term. And again, for most of you, you would have to pay this fee since the courses would be in the Vancouver Lower Mainland. And I've just covered the health and dental fee and the Compass card fee. Now, teacher education certificates, this is directed to teachers in the Vancouver Lower Mainland that have taken UBC students in their classrooms as student teachers. So if this applies to you, you can contact the teacher education office and they could give you further details. If your colleagues have these certificates, you can ask them if they're using them and see if they're still valid, and then they could be applied to your tuition fee installment for the term, and so then that's possible savings for you in the program. So this is my contact information. If you have any questions regarding the admissions and applications process, you could ask them to me right now, but if you forget about something, you can contact me at my email address here, and then there's Peter's address, and I'll take questions at this point. Does anyone have any questions?
I put some notes in the chat. I guess some of you have been following that.
Mhm.
So that to complement what Yvette was talking about. So I think if you live outside the Lower Mainland, if you lived in Fernie or Prince George or some elsewhere on Vancouver Island, I don't believe you're obligated to pay for the UPass. There's a way to, as long as you prove that you're not living in this area, that you don't need the UPass and you can't use it. But if you live in the Lower Mainland, even as far as Chilliwack, as long as it's within the sphere of UBC and you need a UPass to get to UBC if you were a student, then that's why it's a mandatory payment, and you cannot opt out.
I will speak to that. Things have
Oh.
changed.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. If you are attending a course at UBC or in the Lower Mainland, even though you live outside of the Vancouver Lower Mainland, you'd still may have to pay that fee. What they've done is TransLink feels that you can use their transit pass to go and do your research around the city. So then that's the reason why they would still apply that charge to your account. If you happen to be on the island and that term you're doing a course online and you don't have to come to Vancouver Lower Mainland, then you could apply for exemption. Does anyone have any questions?
As I noted in one of my notes to you here, back in 2005, I believe the tuition fee was around $14,500. So I'm pretty surprised that how little the tuition has increased over the years. And considering it's for 2.5-year master's degree program, if you compare, considering that UBC is typically, and the Faculty of Education at UBC is typically within the top 15 faculties of education in the world, rated in the world, you can look it up, and that you would pay well over $120,000 to do a master's at Harvard, and UBC is considered in the same realm as Harvard or Stanford, similar tuition fees. UBC is a fantastic deal, not only monetarily, but also educationally. So that's my 2 cents as far as the scholarship and academic perspective of where this degree stands. UBC has a lot of currency around the world, holds a lot of currency, I should say. People in BC may not be as aware of it as they should be or could be, but I'm constantly impressed by the work my colleagues do across all the departments. And I feel like I'm blessed to have, this is my 30th year at UBC, and I feel like I'm blessed to have been engaged in working with such interesting and fantastic individuals over the years, and will continue to do so for the next foreseeable future. Nobody's talking. Wow, I'm surprised. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with not being face-to-face. Typically, I'll have these kinds of meetings in a school, local school somewhere, and set up a bunch of meetings after school and meet face-to-face, and sometimes even bring donuts and coffee with me. So maybe it's the sugar that helps. Anyway, if there are no further questions, Yvette,
Yes.
do you have any more comments, or no further questions, no further info needed?
No, not on my end. But again, if anybody has questions after this presentation, please feel free to reach out, and I will help you as best I can, or direct you to Peter.
Yeah, I'm available. All of us are working from home at UBC. And so I'm online sporadically. I'm online in the morning for a bit, and I try to finish as much email as I can in the morning, and then I come back online at some point in the afternoon for a little bit and try and take care of things. But generally speaking, especially for my grad students, I'm completely open and always available. So I love working with teachers. I think that working with teachers puts me in a very, very fortunate position of not only being able to teach them and offer them insights and knowledge that I might have, but I have grown so much over the last 30 years, but especially the last 15 to 20 years in working with teachers through this kind of cohort model, because the cohort model is unlike any other that you can imagine. It's not like being in different classes with different people. If you were to go to UBC or any other university and go to campus and take a bunch of courses over 3 years or so, it's nothing like that. One gets a chance to meet very, very interesting people, to develop not just friendships, but very deep working relationships with individuals, not just people who might be with you in your school. Like currently I have I think 3 pairs of people who work together in the same school. So one teacher decided to do the master's and then told somebody else, and they said, oh, I'll do it. So let's do it together. That's always a fun way to do a master's. So when you and another person in your school are doing it, because then when it comes to doing a project, whether it's a final project, or also I forgot to mention that you can do independent studies. Many professors don't offer that as an option to students, but I'm always open to that kind of experience as well. And have found that I've learned a lot from working with individuals on a particular special project. So I'm able to offer you the opportunity to write up an individualized course that you would then design on your own and you would complete with some supervision from me, but basically usually it's an individual. Sometimes it's 2 or more individuals that might undertake a similar project. And these can be really, really rich learning experiences. So yeah, I mean, I just am always fascinated and constantly learning. That's what keeps me energized and what keeps me interested and engaged in teaching and learning over the past 30 years. Before that, I spent 12 years teaching in public and private schools, K through 12, mostly, I should say pre-K through 12, but mostly pre-K through grades 8. And so depending on what school district and what school I was in, I taught pre-K through 4 or K through 7 or grades 6, 7, 8. And they were all fascinating teaching and learning experiences. I taught kindergarten. I also taught some grade 3, 4. But most of my time spent teaching was in music and visual art. So that's why I bring a lot of different lenses to teaching and learning, and am really open to a lot of different ideas in teaching and learning. I don't know if any of you have seen the study that was published back. It was actually the pre-released in June of 2019. It went viral worldwide. It's one of the top 5% most widely read research papers in the world ever, okay, out of millions and millions of research papers. So so if you read just the introduction and the discussion in that paper, you'll see that it's a very broadly theorized perspective on developmental learning and the impact that the arts have on learning and teaching. And we're doing a follow-up to that now with population level study from the BC Ministry of Education. So yeah, there's a lot of fascinating work to do, and it keeps us all engaged. So thank you very much. Thanks for hanging in there. If no one else has anything else to ask or say, I'm going to sign off and say good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.